Hi, good evening everyone. Can you all hear me right at the back? Great. All right, it's great to be here with all of you, and I wanted to thank the GEO for giving Great Place to Work an opportunity to be amongst all of you and share some of our learnings. Right now, let me quickly talk about what Great Place to Work is and what we do. So, Great Place to Work is the global authority on workplace culture. We've been studying workplaces and workplace culture across the globe for the last 4 decades. We are the largest study as far as workplace culture assessments go. And as we speak, our mission is to help every organization be a great place to work for all. Because of this, you will see us on a yearly basis working with almost 21,000 companies, representing almost close to 2 crore employee voices across the globe. Our surveys get rolled out to 170 odd countries. These are all annual numbers. In India, of course, again, we are the largest study as far as workplace culture goes. We have, in the last year alone, assessed more than 1,800 organizations. We've represented 50 lakh employee voices in our survey. Have representation of 20 plus sectors. Right? These are the numbers from last year. So what I'm going to do here today is share some of the insights from the study. Of course, I'm restricting myself today to the India study. Right. So, firstly, I wanted to understand, from all of you, why do you think we should build a great workplace culture, right? And for that, do all of you have phones with you? Yeah, I'm going to quickly open a Menti. If you can scan the code or put in the code, it's 88159560. That's the code. I'm going to quickly launch the Menti and let's see, why do you think we should build a great workplace culture? Right? Is everybody able to log in to the Menti? It's double eight. It's right up on the screen. It's 88159560. All right. I think that's some of us testing whether the Menti is working for them. Right. So I can see some responses coming in: happy, good culture, productivity, gender diversity, job satisfaction, sustainable business seems to be quite a popular choice. Happy also is growing. So yeah, keep the responses coming. I think we'll just look at some of these responses. I can see productivity, happiness, satisfaction, retention, growth. Some of these have been called out by us. All of these are right, by the way. None of these answers are wrong, except the ones that we put in the beginning, for testing whether the Menti is working for us. Right. So let's keep all of these in mind, and let me share with you, some learnings, right, as to why do you need to build great workplace culture. Right. So all of us know that we are in the war for talent. All of us know that, right? Now, winning in the market for talent is actually a prerequisite for winning in the market for customers. We would have heard this multiple times. So a lot of people come to us and say that this is why it's important for us to win in the war of talent or win in the market of talent if we want to win customers, right? Another Another thing that we would have heard a lot: happy employees equal to happy customers. All of us have heard this as well, right? But what if I tell you that when employees thrive, companies more than triple their stock market performance? Does anybody agree to this? Do you have a different view? I don't see any answers, so I'm assuming that all of us agree to this. But let me talk about a study. Now, this is a study that an independent consulting firm called RSM Astute International has been conducting in India since the year 2008-9. Great Place to Work since that year has been publishing the top 100 best companies to work for year on year every year. Some of them have been listed organizations, right? So this study talks about how these listed best workplaces, and when I say best, I'm referring to the 100 list that we publish every year. How do these companies perform as far as shareholders' returns go? Right now, as you can see on the screen, these companies have a cumulative return of 14x times on the initial investment made in these workplaces. Right? If you compare shareholder returns of these companies to companies or to, let's say, market indices like a BSE Sensex or a Nifty 50 or a Bullion index, pick up any index in the country, these companies have clearly outperformed the market or the market indices by at least a factor of 3x, right? So this is a great business case for all of us to realize why investing in workplace culture is important, or why investing in creating great employee experience is important for all of us, right? So I wanted to start there. Next, let us also find out from you, what do you think are some of the attributes of great workplace culture? Right, it's the same Menti code, so if you are still logged in, you can straight away start keying in your responses. Tell me, what do you think are some of the attributes of great workplace culture, as per you? Flexibility, sleep, tired, okay. Increased turnover, employee satisfaction, teamwork, open door practice, transparency, able to admit mistakes, satisfaction. Flexibility seems to be staying at the center. Right? I think we've discussed this, during the day as well. Transparency is key. So transparency now has overtaken flexibility. But yes, I think transparency is a big aspect of great workplace cultures. Right? There are a few more, and if you want to really understand how do you get started, right, on this journey, or as the topic says, what do you do to go from good to great? I would say we should start with trust, and we've spoken enough about trust since morning, and some great examples shared by all my fellow speakers. Right? So trust, we believe, is at the heart of great workplaces. When we institutionalized this study way back in the 1980s, and our founder, who was a labor journalist at that point of time, in 1984, he traveled the breadth and depth of USA, went to about 3,000 odd organizations across the country, and spoke to employees across different sorts of workplaces, some big, some small, some micro. Every organization had a different value proposition, right? Some said we offer the best pay, some said we offer the best benefits, some said our offices are great, we have great resources available at disposal of employees. But there was one common factor that distinguished the best workplaces or the great workplaces from the rest as far as employee experience is concerned, and that's the factor of trust. Right? So if we want to get on a journey of going from being good to great, I would say we start by measuring the trust levels in our organization. Right? And how do you do that? We believe that great workplaces, trust is a factor which actually fuels performance, and when that leads to sustained business results, that is what we say is a great place to work. Right? So at the Great Place to Work framework and philosophy, we keep employee at the center of the model. And we say, what is a great workplace? Simply put, a great workplace is one where employees have trust in the management. Employees take pride in what they do, in the job that they perform, in the work that they do. And of course, enjoy the company of their colleagues, right? So that's a very, very simple definition that we follow, and I would urge you to start this journey by measuring trust levels. What we do through our framework is actually give you a snapshot of what are the trust levels in your organization, right? So that's the starting point. Let us now address the topic for the day, right? How do you move from good to great? I'm not going to be sharing exact practices that organizations follow, but what I've done is picked up some research from the last couple of years and culled out what are some of the common factors, right? So that's what we are going to focus on. Does anybody in the room know this guy? Sorry? Anybody? No? No? Okay, let me tell you the story of this gentleman, right? His name is Stamatis Moraitis, right? He was a army veteran. He fought for the British Army, got injured and moved to the USA to get himself treated, right? So and he was leading a happy life there. When he turned 66, one day while he was walking up his stairs at home, he fell short of breath. Right, so he went to the doctor, and the doctors diagnosed him and told him, "Oh, you've got terminal lung cancer. Right, you've got 6 months, at best 9 months to live. So live life to the fullest. Do what you feel you like doing." And he said, "Okay." He was very, very disappointed, but he said, "Okay, if I have 6 months or 9 months to live, let me go back to my roots." Right? He belonged to a Mediterranean island in Greece called Icaria. Right? It's an isolated island. So what he did is he said, "Okay, if I'm going to be actually dying in 9 months from now, let me go back to my roots, let me go back to my hometown." So he went back to Icaria. He started living in his ancestral home. And after about 15 odd days, right, he started to move. He had really become immobile. He started to move. He said, "Okay, that's great, I'm able to move. Let me go and visit some of my old friends whom I have lost touch with, because I shifted to the US." He started meeting his friends. Then, one fine day he said, "Okay, I'm going to die soon. Let me start building a vineyard. Right? At least when I'm not around, when my wife has wine from the vineyard, she will remember me." Right? So he started gardening. He built a vineyard. Years passed, and when he got diagnosed with cancer, he was 66. This is his photo when he is 108 years old. Okay, so 32 years from the time that the doctors told him that you're going to die in 6 to 9 months, he was alive, living his life to the fullest at the age of 108. What changed? Yeah, thoughts changed, but anything else that comes to your mind that changed for Stamatis? Sorry? Focus, yes. If I have to single out one factor that changed for him, it's his environment. Right? So it's his environment that changed. He got back to his hometown. He started reliving his old days, and he suddenly got better at health. Right? And he died actually at 108, maybe a few months after this photo was clicked. But if you want to know more about this gentleman, there is a documentary on Netflix called Live to 100, Secrets of the Blue Zones. And there are 5 zones, just to give you some background, in the world where life expectancy is much higher than anywhere else in the world. Okinawa from Japan is one of those 5 zones. Right? So interesting documentary. I would recommend, whenever you find time to go through this. But why were we discussing this story? Yes. So we are talking about when, if we get this back to, relate it back to our corporate world, it is the work environment that, I was referring to, right? So you don't really need to change things drastically. You need to change the environment in which your people function or operate. Right? So this is what our research says, and this is our research, like I said, from the last couple of years. It says that when employees can be their true selves at work, which is where they thrive in the environment that they work in, you see they are 3.1x times more likely to stay motivated. They are about 2.4x more times likely to endorse their organization as a great place to work to their friends and family. About 2.3x times more likely to perceive their organization as a great place to work, and 2.2x times more likely to stay longer at the organization, right? I think in the morning we were discussing how can we reduce attrition, right? This is, one of the ways to do it, right? How can you enable your employees to be their true selves at work, right? And it's easier said than done, but of course you need to create an environment which is enabling, for your employees, right? So our study also says that as we stand today, workplace culture is at a fulcrum, and pride and fairness are two ends of that fulcrum, right? So irrespective of whatever the size or the industry that companies in India belong to, our study says that employees are very proud about the work that they do, are very proud about the organizations that they work for. So very, very high on pride, all Indian organizations. At the same time, if you look at the same companies, the feeling of fairness is at the other extreme, right? Which means people don't feel being treated fairly, and this is the fulcrum that we need to solve for, right? These are some of the things, when we started off and we started studying, what you see on the left, what we are now calling as the norms of workplace culture, were actually what employees were looking forward to or expecting from their work environment, right? So for example, competence of management was an expectation from employees, maybe a few years back. But today it's about management being more reliable, being more transparent, being more impartial, right? If I expected my co-workers to be putting in more discretionary effort, to be putting in more customer orientation, finding purpose in one shop, today it talks about are my co-workers being open and transparent with me, right? Fairness was all about being fair when it comes to treating people of different genders, race or caste. Today it's about having equity in pay, equity in treatment, and of course equity in performance management, right? So the fulcrum of what employees expect from the workplace is changing, and is changing fast. So our study currently suggests that there are three factors that organizations who are great workplaces, or organizations who are the best at what they do, are doing differently from what other organizations are doing, right? And the three factors are paying your employees fairly, treating your employees fairly, and of course creating a better work environment, right? So which is why I got the example of Stamatis, just to tell all of you the importance of creating a great work environment, right? So earlier it was all about workplace being friendly, I feel welcomed at my workplace. Now it's about whether I'm able to have fun at work daily, right? And fun at work doesn't translate to some annual functions, events, that we organize for our colleagues. It is about how within my team, when I come to work every day, I am able to have fun, right? It's not about I'm stressed about work, and we've been talking about stress again through the day, right? So what we realized and what we learned is, when you pay fairly, when you provide fair treatment, and when you also provide better work environment, this is a must for unlocking greatness, and I'll show you why it's common. What you see on the screen right now is how do these three factors impact different industries, right? Or potentially what's the leverage of these three factors as far as creating a better workplace experience, for your own organization is. It starts with healthcare, about 7x improved perception of great workplace, if you provide all three of them. Retail is at 5x, right? So at least a 5x likelihood increase in terms of people believing that their workplace has a great workplace culture. So which is why these three aspects are very, very important for us to look at. right? Again, this is an area that we have been talking a lot since morning. We also believe that great starts with leadership. Leaders, in their interactions through the, the walk the talk or, matching actions with words is actually what creates experiences, for our employees. Experiences that our employees have actually shapes the culture of an organization, whether we like it or not. And culture drives performance, which is something that we already saw. Right? So this is something that the Great Place to Work, research clearly believes in. And it brings me to my next point, which is what are some of the different types of leadership experiences, that employees experience at our workplace, and all of us would have, had different experiences at our own workplaces. But I'm going to talk about 5 types of leaders, right? And how does it matter, or what role does this play as far as creating a better workplace experience is concerned? The first type of a leader is an unintentional leader, right? Now, this is a leader who's an absolute super performer when it comes to, delivering business results on their own, right? But not necessarily somebody who's intending, to play the role of a leader for others, right? So that's what we call as an unintentional leader, right? So this person or this leader doesn't really enjoy managing teams or leading teams, right? The second type of a leader is what we call as, what we call as a hit or miss leader, right? Now, what is a hit or miss leader? It's a leader who, tries different things, and therefore hits the target sometimes, doesn't hit the target sometimes. In our parlance, because we are referring to workplace culture, sometimes in some situations they are able to create a good workplace experience for their team members. Sometimes they do miserably badly, right? So that's a hit or miss leader. The third type of leader is a transactional leader. Now, these are leaders who do fabulously well when it comes to, getting the things done, delivering on targets all the time, but not really, great when it comes to being empathetic towards their team members, etc. So that's a third type of leader. The fourth type of leader is what we call as a good leader. Right now, it's slightly difficult to explain what a good leader is, but if I have to give it a shot, let's all think about one person in our organization that comes to our mind when we say, "Oh, I am here because of this person." Right? All of us can think of one name at least. Yeah. So that's what I will say is a good leader. Right now, this is a person who is actually inspiring people, motivating people, and because of this person, employees are staying back in the organization. But what Great Place to Work believes in is there is a fifth category or fifth type of leader, and very difficult to find, is what we call as a for all leader. Right now, what does a for all leader do? A for all leader is somebody who surrounds themselves with, intelligent, smart people, but also is able to inspire people across the organization, right? So, for example, if you find a superb manufacturing plant head, right, is also able to inspire somebody from marketing in the same organization, is also able to inspire somebody who's 10 days in the organization versus somebody who's 10 years into the organization. So that's what we call as a for all leader. And what does for all leadership do as far as creating a great workplace experience is concerned? For all leadership actually ensures that work takes a special significance for employees, right? And we've seen this translating into increased satisfaction as far as relating to the purpose that the organization stands for. We've seen this for all leader being able to increase the perception of how an organization contributes to the sustainability aspect, or to activities that aid towards sustainability. But the most important piece is a for all leader ensures that the perception of belongingness becomes very high, right? And again, belonging is something that we've been talking since morning, right? So, if I have to go back to one of my previous slides, we said if I can be myself at work, I am able to deliver much better. I am a better brand ambassador for the organization that I work with. I am more motivated. I will endorse my company. So belongingness is also very high when you start interacting with for all leaders, right? And of course, flexibility. Again, another aspect that came up as one of the key attributes of being a great workplace. So flexibility is also seemed to be higher, and this is all data from our research. When we study different types of leaders, we do run dual perspective surveys where we ask people to also, apart from rating their organization on various workplace culture aspects, we also ask them to rate their own managers, right? And that's where this data is coming from. So essentially, what we are looking forward to build for our own organizations is for all leaders, right? And when we talk to a lot of organizations who are micro, small, medium scale companies, the single most biggest challenge that gets pointed out to us is, okay, I have been running this organization for X number of years. I have a particular vision for my business. I have got it to where it is right now, but I don't see it growing beyond this point of time, or I'm stuck, right? What is one primary reason for that? And as per our research, it is that you haven't been able to establish a next line of leadership, right, for your organization. And when you're doing that, I think the role of HR is to ensure that when you look at promoting people into leadership positions, you also look at their, not just their performance, but look at whether they are able to be a for all leader for the organization, right? So that's why leadership aspects are very, very important. Now, again, what distinguishes some of the great workplaces, right, from others? And it's a journey, trust me, because the theme also says from trials to triumphs, it's not going to happen overnight. It's a journey that you need to commit to, right? So first we said that we need to really acknowledge the fact that we want to move from good to great. How do we do that? We start by measuring, trust levels in our organization, and there are a great place to work. Of course, the survey is one of those instruments. There are enough and more instruments that can help you, measure trust levels or get employee feedback. But we also spoke about, somebody, sitting in the corporate office deciding for, a large group of employees or a large set of employees, and therefore they're being disconnect, whether it's we not understanding, the challenges or the expectations of Gen Z employees, millennials, etc. How it links here is first we need to understand what our employees want, right? And as we saw earlier, special and unique benefits, right? I'm going back to the pizza base example, right, where special and unique benefits are actually a great way to ensure that you are catering to different cohorts in a way that they see value in. So how do you, or what does what distinguishes great workplaces to others are three key principles that they really follow. And probably the first one is that they treat their employees equal to their customers, right? All of us have been taught in marketing that customer is king or queen, whatever you want to call it, right? These workplaces say that while my customer is my king or my queen, my employees are also equal to my customer, right? So that's the first thing that distinguishes mindset of great workplaces. Right. The second key principle that we have seen common in almost all the 100 best workplaces that we recognize every year is building a great employee experience is actually among the top 3 goals for the leadership, right? So every leader will have business goals, and of course they need to have business goals, operational goals, strategic goals. But keeping employee experience as one of the top three goals for your leadership is one way of ensuring that they have equal emphasis or focus on creating a better experience for their employees. So that's the second key principle. And the third one is leaders have a mindset that every interaction is an opportunity to build trust, right? So, and this is not just true for the corporate world, but also, in our personal lives, that you would realize that whenever you interact with somebody, you are actually building trust or diminishing trust for yourself, right? So, this is the third key principle where the leaders of these organizations, and believe me, when I'm referring to leaders, I'm not talking only about the apex management, and the apex management can only drive an organization so much forward till the time it grows so much in size that the apex management is not able to control and interact, build authentic connections with every individual or every employee. So leaders need to have this mindset. So there is a trust reservoir, if I may put it so. You replenish it every time you have an interaction with any of your employees. So these are the three key principles, right, that differentiates the great workplaces or the best workplaces from the rest. What are some of the advantages? Right now, we started off with a slide which says winning in the market for talent is important or a prerequisite to winning in the market for customers. Right? So what does this translate into if these behaviors that we spoke of? Right? Now, again, this is a study of organizations that have been certified as great workplaces by us versus some of the organizations that did come to us but did not meet the threshold of workplace culture experience. Right? Let's talk about the sentiment of endorsement among employees. Right? All of us agree that employee referrals is one of the best ways to recruit good talent, right? So what does this look like for certified versus not certified organizations? Right? There is a 22% gap as far as employees from a great workplace or a certified workplace being 22% higher in terms of recommending their workplace to their family, friends, etc. So that's your talent attraction piece right there, and how it helps, as far as talent attraction is concerned. The second piece that's very, very important for all of us, again, we spoke about this earlier as well, is the ability to retain some of your best talent, right? And again, we see that there is a 19% difference in the sentiment of employees, wanting to stay longer when we study the great certified workplaces versus other workplaces, right? So that right there is a great, reason for us to start moving today from being a good workplace to being a great workplace, right? So I think we have some time, but great starts here. So I would urge all of you to actually start by gathering employee feedback, understanding what they feel about their workplace culture, and different employees will feel differently. So be open to feedback. Once you gather feedback in any shape or form, the next most important thing is to close the loop on feedback. Right? We come across a lot of organizations who come to us, do the survey, get the results. They are very happy if they get certified, not so happy if they don't get certified, but the ball drops there. Right? And when they come around the next time, maybe they see a dip in their scores, etc. Why does that happen? Is because they are not closing the loop of the feedback gathered from their employees. So once you gather feedback from employees, firstly acknowledge. Do not fear in calling out, saying this is what you've said about us as an organization and workplace culture. So do call out what employees have said, but also do call out what are top 2 or 3 areas that you are going to be working on in the next 12 months. Right? Share with them an action plan, saying that this is the team that's going to work on this, we'll keep you updated. I think closing the loop for employee feedback is almost as equally important as gathering feedback, right? Before we open up for any questions, I wanted to quickly talk about some work that we have been doing. Again, sharing with all of you, because I think the basis of uh, you know the Gujarat Employers Organization is also to help organizations succeed and support them in any way. We ourselves do one such small initiative called as Each One Get One, which is where any organization that we talk to, uh, if you work with an NGO which you believe is doing great social impact work, right, in your community, people whom you know, please do refer them to us. We do the Great Place to Work assessment completely pro bono for NGOs, right, of whatever scale, size, as long as they are more than 10 employees in the NGO. We would love to help more and more NGOs get Great Place to Work certified, and therefore use the certification to attract better talent and create a much better, higher social impact, right? So that's one thing that I wanted to talk to you about, and I'll be happy to get some references from you. Uh, for all of you who are looking at, while I spoke about some of the differentiating factors in terms of what do best workplaces or the great workplaces do differently, if you are looking at case studies, if you are looking at best practices from, some of these workplaces, uh, please, go and download the For All Community India app. The QR code is up on your screen right now. This app is, meant for all workplace culture enthusiasts like all of us who are in the room today. This app has some great practices on workplace culture, talks about some leaders who are sharing their experiences about what they have done, to be able to differentiate their workplace or create a better workplace culture experience. Uh, and the last piece that I wanted to leave all of you with is, every year in the spirit of building and developing this community, we host something called as a For All Summit. Right now, For All is a philosophy that we live and die by. And why it's important is because we believe that a great workplace should be a great place to work for all, right? So many a times we see when we survey a lot of organizations, employees who are longer in the system, who are tenured, who are more senior, uh, tend to have a better workplace culture experience than somebody who's, let's say, middle management, frontline managers. And that is what we are trying to solve for, is how do you ensure that a great place to work is not just a great place to work for certain segment of your employees, but for all. And in that spirit, this year we are hosting the summit. What you see here on the screen are some of our speakers, but so Zubin from Hilton, Hilton has been our uh, ranked the #1 best workplace in the country for a couple of years in a row now. So Zubin is going to be sharing some of his experiences. Rachna from Synchrony, Synchrony is the #2 ranked best workplace on our list for the last year. And of course, we have Mr. Nathan. I don't think he needs any introduction in this community. He's going to be sharing his pearls of wisdom. And of course, Mr. Bogle, giving his perspective about how, sharing some of the sports analogies and relating them to the corporate world, right? So again, some initiatives that we do for building community, for helping companies learn from learn from the best workplaces in the country. With that, I thank you again for all of you to be patient listening into me, and happy to take any questions if you have. Yeah.
We will have two short questions.
Thank you for your insightful session. My question is, when I have provided data for the grade 2 plus 2 work, I've observed that as a part of L&D team, so many times it's mentioned about how many women are getting developed in any of the organization and mostly into the leadership roles. So I just wanted to know, and that too with the artifacts, that could be any program like Women Return to Work or something like that. So just wanted to know, have you observed any significant change in any of the organization where more of the women are in the leadership roles than the men are in the leadership roles, and how that is contributing to the great work culture?
Okay, so I can safely say that our organization is one of those examples. We have three women on our board amongst five board members, right? But there are enough and more such examples where we see. Of course, you spoke about gender diversity, right? But we are actively promoting. Diversity as a concept, and again, going back to what I said earlier, is we believe strongly in the for all philosophy. So we have two lists that we announce every year. One is the best workplaces for women, which is why we ask you for that data, right? And the other is the best workplaces in DEIB, diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. And definitely there is enough and more research available which says that when you have a diverse workforce, you are much better at innovation, much better at productivity, and that's the reason why we are actually advocating for it. Right? If you are looking for some programs, that you can look at for increasing or improving gender diversity, we can connect offline and I can share some practices that some of our organizations have. But of course, the For All community app that I spoke of will have a lot of practices, whether it's returning. Returning from a break, or having special programs in place for developing women leaders. A lot of organizations are doing significantly good work. Outside of the gender diversity, we also see organizations doing great work when it comes to building diverse workforce as far as PWDs are concerned, person with disabilities, or the LGBTQI community. And there are enough and more case studies that we can share. Yes.
We can take one more question.
Sure.
So thank you so much for this amazing session. So my question is based on my experience. So I worked with a couple of organizations, and when it comes to work environment, which you were mentioning into your initial slides,
Yeah.
I have seen a couple of organizations where environment is really good. So I worked with Nestle, I worked with HUL, I worked with Tata. I think we have interacted into one session into Nestle, if I remember lastly. But I've seen myself in certain pockets I was really enjoying. In the same organization, with same culture, with same set of belief, principle, trust, everything. And in the same team, when colleagues change, you sometimes you struggle. So in those pockets, being a HR leader also I've seen right now I'm with Reliance. So I've seen that people, in spite of the fact that you have created a great culture, but you can't do much about your colleagues. And the kind of groups sometimes get created. I've seen people struggling because of that and leaving. So what organization, because those behaviors doesn't fall under code of conduct or other aspect, how you deal with them as a HR professional, how we should be tackling those aspects.
Okay, so if I hear you correctly, your question is about you can't control,
Gossips.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. So
yeah.
I think it all starts with leadership, and leadership role modeling the behaviors that you want to see, in your employees, right? So whether it's about impartiality, fair treatment, I think all of it starts with leadership, right? So typically when we advise organizations, we tell them that there are three key stakeholders, right, as far as changing or improving or bettering workplace culture is concerned. One is your group of leaders, right from the top. The second is your group of managers, right? And third, of course, is the human resource function, the people and culture function, however you want to call it, address it. But these three are equally important, right? So any one is not going to help you change. And to your point, when you talk about smaller groups and changing units, etc., you experience a different culture. That is where your manager, right, your frontline set of managers play a very, very important role. So what you do as a group of leaders, right, in the organization and as human resource function, is you enable and equip the managers to display those behaviors that are expected, within the team, right? That's the only way of ensuring that the workplace culture percolates from or translates out of a written handbook, employee experience handbook or a culture handbook, whatever you want, to on ground experience for your employees. So One critical differentiator again for a lot of successful organizations is how do you equip the middle layer, because they are the ones who are directly on a daily basis interacting with the people on ground, and therefore them role modeling, them having data driven conversations, them being able to have constructive performance management conversations. I think that is what makes the difference.
Yeah, thanks. But just adding to this, I think I've also experienced where managers are really good into the team and good leaders, but still in the team itself, dynamics were a little different. And in spite of the support from the leader, the person still leave the organization because the colleagues were not that much, friendly.
Right.
It's somewhere I think, you know, reflect on the mental resilience of the person as well. So we should be doing some. I think organization should be paying focus on creating little strong employees as well. How to increase those mental resilience.
Absolutely. I think in most sessions we spoke about employee well-being, and that is equally important. How do you build resilience into your employees? But I would again link it back to, in this instance that you spoke of also, as responsibility of the manager, right? Because the manager knows what's going on in the team, what's the culture, how are colleagues behaving with each other, etc. So the manager needs to play a much more active role even in that situation.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
sir.
Thank you.